At 16, my parents threw me out when they found out I was pregnant. They said I ruined everything. Years later, they came back, begging to meet my son, the one they were so sure existed. I was in 10th grade when my life split into two versions, before and after. Before, I was just a normal student. Not perfect, but not a problem either. I kept to myself, did my work, stayed out of trouble. My parents weren't affectionate, but they were present, strict, judgmental. But there, after, everything changed. It started with a test, 2 lines, clear, unmistakable. I stared at it for a long time, trying to convince myself I was reading it wrong. I wasn't. I was 16 and pregnant. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I sat on the edge of my bed. My mind raced through every possible outcome. None of them ended well. Telling my parents felt impossible, but hiding it, that wasn't an option either. They found out before I could decide. My mom noticed first the change in my behavior, the way I avoided meals, the way I stayed in my room. She didn't ask gently, "What's wrong with you?" she demanded one evening. "Nothing," I said. She didn't believe me. She never did. A week later, she found the test. I came home from school to both of them waiting, sitting at the table, silent, that kind of silence that already feels like punishment. My mom held it up. "Explain this." I froze. My dad didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The look on his face said enough. "I was going to tell you," I said quietly. "When my mom snapped, after you had it, I didn't know how." "You didn't know how," she repeated, her voice rising. "You didn't know how not to get pregnant either." Each word hit like something physical. "I'm still your daughter," I said. "Big mistake." Because that's when everything shifted. My dad finally spoke. "No," he said coldly. "You were." The room felt like it dropped. "What?" I whispered. "You've embarrassed this family enough," he continued. "We're not going to be part of this." My chest tightened. "You're serious?" "Pack your things," my mom added. "No," I said, shaking my head. "You don't mean that." "We do," she replied. Just like that. No discussion, no hesitation, no second chance. I stood there, waiting for one of them to soften, to say something different. They didn't. So I packed a bag, a few clothes, my phone. That was it. No plan, no place to go. Just gone. At 16. Pregnant and completely alone. That was the last night I saw them. For years. No calls. No messages. No, "Are you okay?" Nothing. Because as far as they were concerned, I didn't exist anymore. Until one day, they decided I did again. And this time, it wasn't for me. It was for someone they believed I had. Someone they wanted more than they ever wanted me. My son. The one they were so desperate to meet. The one they were so sure existed. But there was just one problem. He didn't. The message came out of nowhere. Unknown number. Simple. "We need to talk." I almost ignored it. For years, silence had been their only language. No birthdays. No holidays. No apologies. Nothing. So why now? I didn't reply. Not at first. But then another message came through. "It's your mother." I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Part of me felt nothing. Another part remembered everything. The night I packed a bag, the door closing behind me, the way they didn't even look back. Still, I typed, "What do you want?" The reply came quickly. "Can we meet?" No explanation, no context, just a request. I hesitated. Then, against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a small cafe. Neutral, public, safe. I arrived early, not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to walk in and see them already there. I wanted control over at least that one moment. When they walked in, I almost didn't recognize them. Older, slower, less certain. My mom spotted me first. Her face changed instantly. Relief, nervousness, something close to guilt. My dad followed, quieter than I remembered. They sat across from me. For a moment, no one spoke. Years of silence sitting at that table. You look, well, my mom said finally. I nodded. So do you? It wasn't true, but it wasn't the point. My dad cleared his throat. We've been trying to find you for a while. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Why? Another pause. Then my mom leaned forward. We want to meet him. I blinked. Meet who? Our grandson, she said softly. The words felt strange, unfamiliar, like they didn't belong in this conversation. I stared at her. Your what? Your son, my dad added. You would have had him by now. I let out a small breath. Not disbelief, not confusion, just clarity, because suddenly everything made sense. They hadn't come back for me. They hadn't missed me. They hadn't regretted what they did. They came back for him, or at least for the version of him they believed existed. We want to be part of his life, my mom continued. We know we made mistakes, but mistakes. I repeated. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. I leaned back slightly, taking it in. Years of silence, reduced to that word. Mistakes. We deserve a chance to fix things, my dad added. Deserve. That word hit differently, because it wasn't about me. Not really. It was about access, about something they thought they had a right to. I looked at both of them, really looked, searching for something real, something genuine, but all I saw was expectation, not remorse, not understanding, just expectation. What makes you think I had the baby? I asked calmly. They exchanged a glance. Confused. Of course you did. My mom said. You were already far along when you threw me out. I finished. Silence. Uncomfortable this time. You were 16, my dad said. What else would you have done? I held his gaze. You didn't ask, I said. You never asked. My mom's voice softened. We're asking now. No, they weren't. They were assuming, just like before. I reached for my cup, taking a slow sip, letting the moment stretch, because for the first time, I had something they didn't. Control. You really want to meet him? I asked. Yes, my mom said immediately, more than anything. I nodded slowly, then set the cup down, and said the one thing they weren't ready for. There's no son. The words landed hard. Confusion crossed their faces instantly. What do you mean? My dad asked. I said calmly, he doesn't exist. My mom shook her head. That's not possible. It is. But you were pregnant. I finished. Yes. Silence. Heavy. Uncertain. Then my dad leaned forward, slightly. So where is he? I looked him straight in the eyes. He's nowhere, I said, because there was no baby to begin with. My mom stared at me. What are you saying? I lost the pregnancy, I said quietly, not long after you threw me out. Silence. Complete. My dad looked down, his hands tightening. You didn't tell us, he muttered. I almost laughed. You didn't give me a way to. My mom's eyes filled with tears. We would have been there. No, I said. You weren't there when I needed you. That was the truth. Simple. Final. I stood up. You didn't come back for me, I added. You came back for someone who never existed. And that was the difference they couldn't undo.